In question 5, sketch below is the parabola f with equation f of x is equal to minus x squared plus 4x minus 3. And we've got a hyperbola in G with equation here as the following. So look, it's not in standard form. So maybe at some stage we'll need to isolate our y value to get it back into standard form. Now B is the turning point of f, and it lies at the point of intersection of the asymptotes of G. A has the coordinates -1 and 0, and that is the x-intercept of G. Okay. So not too heavy. We've got a parabola here and a hyperbola. So 5.1, show that the coordinates of B are 2 and -1. So look, to calculate a turning point, we use this equation. So this is question 5.1. X is equal to minus B over 2A. And if we sub in our values, so A is equal to -1, B is equal to 4, and C is equal to -3, even though we're not going to use it just yet. So that's going to be -4 over 2 times -1. Sorry, A is equal to -1. Therefore, X equals 2. And once we have the X coordinate, in order to get the corresponding Y coordinate, we just sub it back into the equation. So it'll look something like this. So minus 2 squared plus 4, 2 minus 3. And that will render a Y value of 1. So this is the X coordinate. That's the Y coordinate. Therefore, B has the coordinates of 2 and 1. Okay, that's it. I'm just going to erase the screen quickly so it looks pretty, just like you. 5.2, write down the range of f. The range of f. The range of f, it always relates to the y turning point. Okay, the y turning point. That is the range. Remember, the range is all about the y value, so we're going to use the y turning point. And this is, well, a formula that you can learn almost. So y is greater than or equal to our q value. So q, that is our y turning point, right? Just some notation for you guys. If a is greater than 0, so that's the first portion. Y would be less than or equal to q if a is less than 0. So let's actually put this into practice now. I'm just going to change the color quickly. So our a value here is clearly -1. So it's less than 0. So we're going to use option 2. So we're going to say y is less than 1. How do we get 1? Well, that was the coordinates of our y turning point. Remember, it was B. And look, that is literally the answer. That is it. That is the entire question. So just remember it like this. Y is greater than or equal to your y turning point if a is greater than 0, q being your y turning point. And y would be less than or equal to q if a is less than 0. So pretty much the value of a, it dictates your range. And learn it like this. They work directly proportionally to each other. If one is greater than, the other is greater than. If one is less than, the other is less than. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to clean the screen again with some 5.3, for which values of x will g of x be greater than 0? So g of x is greater than 0 at these portions here. I'm just going to use the highlighter now. So when they say greater than 0, it's not anything to do with our parabola, right? It's just the hyperbola versus the axis of symmetry. So if it's greater than 0, it's all the positive values. In other words, all the values that are above the x-axis. So it's going to be this portion here that's above the x-axis and this portion here as well. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Everything below the x-axis, that would be less than 0. So you're probably wondering, okay, now that we've identified it, we've understood it, we've visualized it, how do we write it? Here's how. Let me show you. Why is Goon School speaking like this? Okay, let's do it. So this is going to be from -1 all the way to -infinity. Right? So I'll use interval notation first and then I'll use set builder. So interval notation is bracket notation from -1 all the way to -infinity. So it always goes in ascending order. So -infinity would be the lowest and -1. Now it's important that this is where g of x is greater than or equal to 0. Now you can never include infinity. Never, ever, ever. But we would include everything here except infinity or an asymptote. And we can use the union here because that's only one answer. We need this answer as well. Now for this answer here, it's just going to go. But it's never going to touch this line here, you see? So that's an asymptote. That's an asymptote at x is equal to 2. So that line here is x is equal to 2. So yeah, we can never include an asymptote or infinity. So we use another curly bracket. 2 all the way to positive infinity. Another curly bracket, you can never include infinity. So yeah, a lot of you would have gotten tricked here because you're seeing greater than or equal to, you're just going to use the big fat square bracket. So look, this is interval notation. So if you're using interval, this is for you. This is set builder. Okay, look, one is not better than the other. It's all about preference, you know, whatever you understand. So how would we write this? Well, x is less than or equal to -1. Okay, it's all the values all the way to infinity. Or you could use this union sign. This would be the intersection. That means and, okay? You use that in probability and other pieces of functions. And writing this, well, this is 2 going all the way to positive infinity. So all the way to positive infinity, all the big values, and 2. So yes, we can include this because there's no asymptote. And it's not that we exclude this, we just do not include it because at 2, that's going to be an asymptote. Okay, and that's it for 5.3. I'm going to clean the screen again with some sunlight liquid. Question 5.4, determine the equation of the vertical asymptote of the graph of h if h of x is equal to g of x plus 4. So look, in other words, this is our axis of symmetry right now. X is equal to 2. So x equals 2, and here we've got a translation to the left. This is plus 4 in the bracket. So remember, if there's a translation in the bracket, it's going to affect the horizontal x-axis. If it's outside of the bracket, like it's somewhere there, that would be a vertical shift. In the bracket, horizontal. Outside of the bracket, vertical. So this is going to be a shift. If it's a positive shift, we go left. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now look, even though it's a positive shift, the values are actually decreasing. We're going negative, so -4. So that means the final answer is just going to be x is equal to 2. -2, sorry. 2 minus 4 is equal to -2. So in summary for this question, right, you need to understand that we have an axis of symmetry here because our y turning point acts as our AOS. So that's x is equal to 2. We've got a translation of 4 units left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be like somewhere here now that there's been a translation. So if it's inside the bracket, it's a horizontal shift. If it's outside the bracket, it's a vertical shift. If it's positive, we go up. If it's negative, we go down. So x equals 2 minus 4. X is equal to 2. I made the same mistake again. X is equal to -2 is the final answer. 2 minus 4 is equal to -2. Sorry about that. But yeah, that is it. That is the entire question.